So today on on the Film Lab, we have a movie by Justin Lerner. It was filmed in Guatemala. It was beautiful, a really emotional roller coaster, Cadejo Blanco. And hello, Justin. How are you?
Good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
And in your own words, can you tell the audience about your movie?
Yeah, sure. So the film is a Guatemala-US co-production, and it is about a young working class girl from the capital, Guatemala City, who goes out one night with her sister to a party, and her sister doesn't come home, and she goes on a long search to figure out what might have happened to her. This is something that happens a little bit in parts of Latin America, and it was inspired by things that I read in the news, and then 3 years of research working with people from different parts of the city and the small town where it takes place in. And basically, it's a mystery crime thriller with elements of coming of age of a young girl looking for her sister and having to join a gang in order to find out what happened to her sister, getting closer to the young man who she was dating right before her disappearance, who was part of a gang in this small northeastern part of the Caribbean coast of Guatemala called Puerto Barrios. And the thing that's kind of unique about the film is, even though there's about 4 or 5 professional actors and actresses, including the lead actress, Karen Martinez, the bulk, I'd say 80 to 90% of the cast were first-time actors who had never been on film before, non-professionals who were playing versions of themselves in the movies, fictional, of course. But it was part of the research process of writing the film over 3 years, where I basically lived on and off in this little town in the north with one of the highest violence and crime and murder rates in all of Central America, where women can actually join gangs. And I talked with a lot of people who are actually in their past been part of these gangs, and they gave me a lot of their stories, all things that really happened to them. And some of them wanted to give it to me anonymously, and that's how we wrote the story, based on these real things that have happened in this part of the gang life there in Central America.
Well, that's bad that you're not here, but can you tell everybody at home when is the movie on?
So the film plays Wednesday, July 6th at 9 p.m. at the Pálás Cinema at Galway here. And I will be introducing the film virtually. And I really would love for some of you to be there. My 3rd film at the FLA, and first in Spanish language. And I really think that it's been traveling all over the world. We haven't played in that part of Europe yet. And so this will be the Irish premiere, and very excited if some people can come join us there.
That's very interesting. And like, what was it like to film in Spanish?
Well, I've been speaking Spanish since I was a little kid. I studied it in school. I lived in Spain since I was after college, and then I moved to Guatemala to start teaching at a film school down there in 2015. So for the past 7 years, I've been living part of my year in the US, in the States, and part of it in Guatemala. So it's almost like it's a second language, but it's also something that I'm fairly fluent in, if not perfectly fluent. So it really made me concentrate more on the image, for sure. While I wrote the first draft of the script, following drafts were definitely written and translated into 3 different kinds of Spanish: the normal Castellano, and then to the regular, more standard Guatemalan dialect with different words, different phrases, and different slang. And then one more time into the local regional Puerto Barrios slang, which is sometimes unintelligible to even people in the city in Guatemala. As I think you might know from any country, there are regional dialects, I'm sure even in Ireland, that use different words, different slang, and different normal words get used in multitude of different ways. So I was a beginner in that. So what I did was I surrounded myself with, 1, non-professional actors that were encouraged to improvise whenever they wanted, and 2 to 3 years of rehearsals in which they could say whatever they want, rewrite all of my dialogue. all I did was make sure that they understood the goal of each scene. So at the end, we had a fluid script that was changing right up until the day of filming, in which they were permitted to speak however they wanted and change whatever they wanted, so long as that we could agree on the story. And there were days in which they were speaking in their Spanish and their regional dialect where I'd have to wait till later for them to tell me what they said. I also filmed rehearsals in order to understand that what they were saying, because they were always permitted to change anything they wanted in the script. It's kind of a documentary approach to a narrative film in that way.
Yeah, like it was. It's a beautiful movie, and like, what inspired you to shoot an anamorphic?
Well, after scouting the locations through Puerto Barrios, and again, Puerto Barrios looks a lot different than the city. Puerto Barrios is on the Caribbean coast. The Caribbean looks a lot more like other parts of Honduras, and even the Caribbean parts that you would the Caribbean islands. So when we got there, we realized the terrain is much different than the city, which is very tall, and expansive. The Caribbean coast, Puerto Barrios, is very low, flat, and a lot of the buildings and a lot of the beautiful set pieces we have of the nightclubs, the bars, the shore, the river, it was all very low, other than the volcanoes that were off in the distance. All of the beautiful parts of the city just felt like you needed to see it low and flat rather than narrow and high. So that inspired with my cinematographer, Roman Casarola, who lives in Argentina, in the city, by the way, and he doesn't really have these views. It made a huge impression on us, the different views and sites and locations in this town. So we decided, let's not only go anamorphic, but we actually shot at 2.66, which is even wider than a regular 16:9 frame. But it was also to try to create, because we knew we were making kind of a thriller, like a crime thriller, to situate Sarita, the main character, in a big expanse in which the edges of the frame were always having something that could harm or threaten her at any time. So you always had to be watching what was in every piece of the frame, or else you might miss something. Sometimes when you have a lot of beautiful elements and other opportunities for characters to come in and out of the frame on a wider frame, it creates a little more tension, a little more suspense, because you can play with different elements coming in and out that could harm her, threaten her, or create some sort of conflict or obstruction.
And what does Cadejo mean?
Oh, a Cadejo is a word that only exists in Central America. Actually, in Mexico and Spain and other parts of Latin America, it doesn't exist. It's a mythical legend. It's a folklore legend of a dog. It's a dog that's more than a dog and less than a spirit, kind of halfway between those two things. And it's more like a wild animal that is a shaman spirit type character that's meant to protect you from death. And in some legends, there is a version of an evil one that's leading you towards death. And the idea is that they're there as kind of guardian angels or protectors that only kind of appear at night or in very desolate parts of the wild, in order to almost protect your soul or guard you towards a path that might lead you astray. So, for example, my favorite version of the legend is in Guatemala. They say if you come out of a pub or a bar late at night and you're drunk and you're walking home, if there's a street dog, like a homeless street dog walking alongside of you, that's a Cadejo, and they're there to make sure that you get home safely without being robbed. So it's got very many mutations, this legend, but so I thought it would be a great metaphor for this dangerous journey that this girl's going on through these very dangerous world of gang life and crime and violence.
And after making this amazing, beautiful looking movie with a great story and coming age aspect of it, what are you working on next?
I'm working on two projects right now. One is an English language film that takes place in the Pacific Northwest, related to a true crime story in the news from a few years ago. Another kind of crime mystery thriller that has more of a first person account of some very perplexing things that happened a few years ago. up there. And I'm working on a Spanish language feature that is a distant cousin of Cadejo Blanco that delves into the world in a different area of Guatemala of secuestros, of kidnappings. Because I thought that's something that happens a lot that I'm very interested in exploring more in Latin America. I spend part of the year every year living there, and have a production company that I work with quite often. So I'm really interested in also expanding the ways in which the United States and other countries can have co-productions with Guatemala, because not many films get made down there per year, but there's a lot of talented people and filmmakers. And I really want to help support, not only through making films, but also through my teaching at the film school there, ways in which there could be more attention brought internationally to the cinema in Guatemala and to the filmmakers there that deserve the rest of the world to see them, because there's a lot of talent that should be considered down there.
And have you ever been to Galway?
I've been to Galway. I've been to Galway twice. This will be my third film playing at the FLA. My first feature, Girlfriend, premiered at the FLA in 2011. And I came with Amanda Plummer, who gave a master class. It was wonderful. Had a great time. My little brother came as well. Actually, on a rainy day, he fell in the river there, and we got it on tape. And apparently people still talk about it. Gar O'Brien still has the video of my brother falling into the river in 2011 at the FLA. And then I was back in 2015 or 2016 with my second feature, The Automatic Hate. I've loved it every time. I love the rowing club. I love Miriam and Will and all the people who really pick great selections of films. And it's a pity I can't be there this time, but I'm so proud that my third film, actually, it'll make it so every single one of my features has had a premiere at the FLA. So it's a great honor, and I'm very excited that at least the film will be there this time.
What was it like to work with Karen Martinez?
Karen Martinez is one of the most talented actresses I've ever worked with, and probably, I think, in that part of Latin America, probably the most talented actress. I first saw her in a film in 2013 when she was only about 15 years old, called La Jaula de Oro, which I think is translated in English to The Golden Dream, it was called when it came out. She won a special jury prize at Cannes Film Festival for that performance, along with her other two co-stars, one of whom is also in my film, Cadejo Blanco, named Brandon Lopez. And when I saw that film, I was mesmerized by her performance in the film in general. And then flash forward, I'd say another like 7 or 8 years, and she came into audition on the very first day we held castings in Guatemala City of Cadejo Blanco. And there was something very strong about her. She's a very intimidating girl because she's very quiet. And she holds everything inside, every emotion, every fear, and does very little with her face, but you can see it all in her eyes. And when I realized this from not only seeing her in her previous film, but then in her audition, I realized in order to have someone who goes through the tumultuous journey that she almost dies in every moment of the film, you need someone who has the ability to keep a lot inside and express it just very subtly, like a real film actor would. And there was just so much in her. And she's also kind of like a tough girl who she's a little intimidating in person, but then when you meet her, you realize it's because she's just keeping so much inside. She's a mom, and she has a lot of gone through a lot being a young mom, a working actress. She's a student. She studies at the film school that I teach at. And when I saw her in person, I knew this is the type of girl that can go on this journey and that we'd want to watch and we'd want to fight for and we'd want to root for. And she took so much of the character to heart and personalized it. And even though the character is not her at all, she was able to find things similar to this working class girl who has to struggle and fight tooth and nail for everything that she gets in her life. And it was a real collaborative process. There's no movie without her. She's in every scene, she's in every shot. We're right over her shoulder in every moment. And I just find her to be one of the most intriguing people I've ever met. And I knew that if I gave her the freedom to really create things in it together with me as almost a co-author, that she'd create something that we'd want to watch for 2 hours. So it taught me a lot. Taught me a lot about an actor-director relationship that you are almost co-writing scenes with. There were entire scenes where she helped me rewrite the dialogue, and she also helped me with the non-professional actors that were in the film, helping coach them during the scene. She worked a lot with people from who had a past life in the world of the gangs and of crime in our auditions and rehearsals. And she was also able to work with some non-actors from the city who didn't have much experience. So she almost helped in a way co-direct a lot of those scenes. So she's a phenomenal talent. And I think she's well deserving of this film being seen by a lot more people so she can have more opportunities to act in future projects.
I really enjoyed her in the movie. She was amazing. Like, she actually held the whole thing together. It was her story anyway.
The film is 100% Karen Martinez as Sarita. And one of the biggest challenges, because she's playing a young girl who has to infiltrate a gang, she's playing a girl who has to take on many identities in the film. So it's not only Karen Martinez, the actress, playing the role of Sarita, she's Karen Martinez, the actress, playing the role of Sarita, who is playing the role of this girl, Ana Lucia, who is always lying and making up things about a life. So it's like a performance inside a performance, which I think on a lot of levels is a very challenging thing to an actress, but she finds a way to keep it real at all times, where you see both the character of Sarita and the people she's pretending to be in the film all at once. Again, unbelievably difficult, deft performance that couldn't have been done, I think, by anybody else.
Well, thank you very much, Justin, for talking to us at the Flat, and movies on at
Wednesday, July 6th, 9 p.m.
Thank you very much again.
¿Por qué?
Porque, allá te cuento.
Perdonen si arruino esta fiesta patria, esto no es democracia, más bien una falacia.
¿Te acuerdas de este chavo con el que estaba saliendo? Andrés. Es que está metido en mierda.
Son las lecciones de un pueblo sin memoria que se toma las calles pero no lee historia.
Es que no vino a dormir anoche.
¿Y ya la llamaste?
Sí, pero no me contesta.
Váyanse a su casa, sigan llamándola a su celular y vamos a esperar lo mejor.
Solo eso, esperar. Te tengo que decir algo importante.
¿A dónde te vas a ir?
A Puerto Barrios.
¿Sola?
Sí. Sé que estás en una mara. No me da miedo. Me quiero meter.
¿Vos has usado cohete?